This is David Russell, Global Head of Market Strategy for TradeStation. And today we'll look at major events for investors and traders. Stocks are hitting new highs as inflation eases and Apple breaks out. The S&P 500 rose a little more than 1.5% between Friday, June 7th and Friday, June 14th. It was the second consecutive positive week and the second straight record weekly closing high. The technology-heavy Nasdaq 100 climbed even more, advancing 3.5%. The week started with Apple describing how AI will be integrated into its operating system. Analysts mostly viewed the news as positive for both the company and the broader technology space. At the company level, AI could potentially boost Apple's high-margin services business and potentially spur an iPhone upgrade cycle. At an industry level, Apple could mainstream the use of AI, boosting demand for computing power and semiconductors. The second big story was a trio of benign inflation reports. Consumer prices, producer prices, and import prices were all lower than expected. Initial jobless claims also unexpectedly rose to a 10-month high, and consumer sentiment unexpectedly fell to an 8-month low. Those headlines helped lower interest rate worries. Ironically, the Federal Reserve took a hawkish stance by reducing the number of potential rate cuts from 3 to 1. The market seemed to disregard the central bank and slightly increased its expectations for rate cuts, according to CME's Fed Watch tool. Semiconductors and technology dominated upside in the S&P 500 last week. In fact, TradeStation data showed that only 2 of the top 20 index members were non-technology stocks. Broadcom had a record weekly gain on strong earnings, revenue, and guidance. Investors focused on its potential to benefit from AI and demand for its VMware software. The company also split its shares 10-for-1 and became the 9th most valuable member of the S&P 500. Related chip makers like Skyworks Solutions and Qorvo followed Broadcom higher. Adobe also jumped after results beat estimates. Oracle, the index's number 6, jumped to a new record high on strong bookings. It also announced record contracts in response to AI demand and signed deals with OpenAI and Alphabet. CrowdStrike was another noteworthy mover. The cybersecurity company rallied 10% on news it will join the S&P 500 on June 24th. GoDaddy and KKR were also added. Energy and financials were the worst performers as investors rotated away from cyclical sectors. And now, let's chart the market. The S&P 500 seems to remain in a tight uptrend, with few obviously bearish signs. Some chart watchers may notice that the index is consolidating in tight sideways ranges without discernible dips. See the white rectangles on this chart. The price action, reminiscent of the initial rally in November, may reflect a lack of selling pressure. Next, the Relative Strength Index, or RSI, hit an overbought condition for the first time since early March. Similar readings in late 2023 and early 2024 were accompanied by upward movement in stock prices. Third, the 50-day moving average has risen at a quickening pace since June began. Such accelerations often occur as a move begins. Recent examples include last November, April 2023, and November 2020. The 10-year Treasury yield also hit its lowest level since late March. That's potentially important because higher yields in October and April triggered weakness in the stock market. The main negative for stocks now could be relatively limited participation in the rally. Just 36% of the S&P 500's members rose last week. Fewer companies made new 52-week highs as the index ascended. That kind of narrowing breadth may be considered a potential warning sign for sentiment. Let's now consider this week's agenda. There's a handful of economic events, speeches by Fed officials, and earnings. The market is also closed for Juneteenth on Wednesday. Fed Board Governor Lissa Cook speaks today, and Lennar issues quarterly results after the closing bell. Retail sales are tomorrow morning. Richmond Fed President Thomas Barkin and Governor Adriana Kugler also make public comments. Markets are closed Wednesday. Thursday is the busiest session, with housing starts, building permits, initial jobless claims, and crude oil inventories. Accenture, Kroger, and Jabil report earnings. Existing home sales are on Friday. Thanks for watching. Please visit tradestation.com for more.